Welcome to another edition of the Harmon Solar Podcast. I'm Rob Romano, VP of Sales and Marketing at Harmon Solar. And with me, as always, Mr. Everything, Ben Wolschlager. Ben, how are you today?
I'm doing great.
Are you sure?
I had a breakfast taco this morning. I got my bottle of water. I'm pumped.
Ben comes here for the food.
That's the only reason why I'm here.
Only reason.
Keep me on payroll.
So, kind of exciting today. This is the last ever Harmon Solar Podcast that we are going to shoot in this studio.
Yep.
We are opening up a new studio at the Harmon Solar Podcast, or Harmon Solar headquarters, corporate headquarters. And I myself have been building this studio. Ben has helped nothing at all.
That's true.
And it's actually coming out really well. But our next podcast going forward will all be done at our new Harmon Solar Podcast studios.
In my defense, I provided creative input. Manual labor.
Wow.
Not
creative input.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. I agree with that. Okay, thanks. All right. Thanks for the input.
You're welcome.
Today, we are going to talk with a mortgage lender.
Yeah.
We've never done that. And we got a guy, another guy.
We always got a guy.
Usually we have, sometimes we get a gal, but
Yeah.
today we got a guy, all right? This guy is Ben Rubenstein. Did I say that wrong?
You said it right. No, that's perfect.
Ben Rubenstein with Price Mortgage. Ben, how you doing?
Hey, I'm doing great, feeling great. Anyone in the mortgage industry maybe is not great. It's a tough business right now, but we're still
why are
having a
you
lot of
feeling
fun.
great?
Yeah,
We're eating ramen.
yeah, just kidding.
We're eating
No.
ramen. Yeah. So Price Mortgage, how long have you been there?
So I've been with Price a little over 3 years. In the mortgage industry, about 15 years.
Wow, okay.
Banking and finance since high school. Started all the way back at Wells Fargo and then kind of just worked my way through up the ranks. And,
Okay.
and here we are.
And here we are in one of the worst times ever. Okay.
We got an expert in the industry.
Which we needed, right?
Yeah.
So you've gone through the good and bad over the last 15 years.
Yeah. But why in the world would we have a mortgage expert on a solar podcast?
Because you asked me to. I have no
It
idea
makes
why.
sense. That doesn't make sense, does it?
Well, tell us why.
Well, I mean, people buy and sell homes all the time, right? And sometimes those homes have solar on them. So,
Yeah, especially now.
People want to know, well, how does that affect me selling my home? Or if I'm buying a home that has solar, there's a solar loan on the house that I'm buying or selling. What are the ins and outs? What are the questions? And we, as solar experts, we always kind of default to ask an expert, because we're not experts in mortgages or real estate, things like that. So ask your mortgage expert or your real estate expert. So that's why we have.
But here's the cool caveat. There is a caveat to this, right? Not only is Ben a mortgage expert, at least you think you are. No, you are. You're a mortgage expert, but you're a solar owner as well.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah, I've had solar for 6 years now.
6 years.
And
So I want to talk about that, because we had a conversation with Ben before we started shooting the podcast, and an interesting topic came up about his solar. And, we talk about all the time, people that maybe don't get the best deal in the world.
Taken advantage of. Yeah.
Right. Meet Mr. X.
And speak of the devil.
yeah. Well,
So tell us about your solar experience. Now, it wasn't with Harmon, so let's get that
Yeah.
out there, right? It was with a competitor.
Yeah, we won't say the company.
No, we won't do that.
Yeah.
But talk about your experience. You've had solar since 2018, you said, right?
yeah, so I've had it for about 6 years. I'm just thinking back to when the salesperson came to my home and offered me the program and how it was going to benefit me. And initially I saw the financial benefit was
Right.
the biggest decision, when I see the ability to own a home, potentially have what they say a zero net benefit for your electricity, right? Like, I'm not going to pay for electricity. So it was just the challenge of the thought of that was amazing to me, because I could, run a household with 5 kids,
Yeah.
3,000 square foot, energy costs keep rising. So I saw it as an opportunity, like, okay, I'm going to save $300-400 a month.
Wow. Yeah.
And
That makes sense.
it looked good on paper.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
I mean, so 3,000 square foot home, right? So 2-story house. They put a 7K system on your house. Now, a lot of you might not know what that means. It's a smaller system in the industry.
Yeah.
I mean, so for somebody that's probably using a lot of, you said you had 5 kids, 3,000 square feet, you're probably using a lot of power.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
for
yeah.
someone who's probably, their electric bills are probably like averaging maybe $100 a month.
7K?
For a 7K system.
Yeah, it's small.
Somewhere around there.
Yeah.
But you weren't averaging $100 a month probably before you had solar.
Right.
Probably.
Yeah, I was paying like $280 a month on a budget plan
Yeah.
back then.
Yeah, you're talking about 2018. So
Yeah.
and solar was pretty hot back then. I mean, had just come off the 17 drop, and then yeah. So I mean, that was a good time for solar. So you were paying about $280 a month. And what are you paying now?
So I'm not on the budget plan, but
Right.
it'll teeter. This is supposedly the one of the lower months of the year,
Right.
close to $200 for the electricity piece, paying almost $200 a month for the loan that I got for my solar. So that's $400 on the low end, I suppose.
Wow.
And then this summer, I'm expecting probably close to $700 for June and July.
Right.
Yeah. So we talked a little bit about this before the show started. It doesn't look like you're saving money, obviously, because it looks like you're paying more. I mean, there is a savings, but we feel that you're probably paying too much for the solar system alone. Like what you're getting discounted from your APS bill, yeah, there's a savings, but then you account for, well, how much am I paying for the solar system itself?
Right.
That was too much. So, and that's what we kind of got this podcast started for, to help people out, to kind of educate them a little bit, like, hey, this is how things actually work, and this is how you should vet these companies.
These are the kind of stories that piss me off.
Yeah.
This is why you said this is why we do this.
Ralph is heated.
I get heated when I hear stuff like this, because it's a gentleman that his family they were taken advantage of to line someone's pockets, and that's all that happened.
Sure.
In my opinion, based on what you told me you probably paid, I'd say about $12,000 too much for that system.
Yeah.
That if you would have paid that less $12,000, it wouldn't be bad. You'd be okay. Your loan would be a lot less. It's still, that system's way too small. You would need a bigger system, but you'd be in a better position than you are now. So it irks me.
Yeah.
Right. It's why we want to do this podcast. It's why we'll never stop doing this, because we want to keep informing people. Be careful of who you're talking to, who you're dealing with. You really got to be able to research it. Back in 2018, there wasn't a ton of stuff out there, about all this. There wasn't this what the word I'm looking for? The awareness that we're starting to create that wasn't really there in 2018. It was a free for all.
Yeah.
Right. It was the Wild West.
It was. Yeah.
It's not that anymore. So, and we're trying to help make sure that stuff just doesn't happen anymore. So I'm sorry that you had that experience, because solar is a great thing for people. It can be. And you always say it, right? Solar is not for everybody, but everyone should take a look.
Yep.
And maybe it wasn't for him. I don't know. I mean, looking at his house, I think he could have definitely got a better system and paid less.
Or at least a better deal. Yeah.
It would have been a better deal. But anyway, I wanted to start there because it just pissed me off so much. So
on that note,
let's
talk about mortgages.
We did bring you on for a different reason, right? We want to talk about mortgage, and we want to talk about mortgage and solar, because I'm sure that you're seeing more and more people that have homes that have solar on them, right? I mean, that's just a bigger part of this market now.
Yeah, a lot of the transactions we see have, whether it's a purchase or a refinance, the homes are going to have solar panels. There's a good chance, right? And when people are going in to buy homes, we kind of look at the same things that I did when I was making the very same decision. Well, what's the electric bill look like on a monthly basis? So I'll often want to educate my clients on, what was the payments over the last year, so they can kind of see that, in addition to, if it's a solar lease, how much is that a month? Or if they're carrying a loan, how much is that a month? So it's about the financial decisions behind the solar, right? And then the process.
You just mentioned lease. Do you look at a situation and go, oh, it's a purchase, that's better, or oh, it's a lease, that's kind of a negative? I mean, do you have a stigma either way? Do you say, it's a lease, we have to be more careful because there's a lot more involved here, versus a purchase?
No, it's not so much a stigma. I mean, when you take the payments in account, that does factor into the debt to income ratio on qualifying. Mm-hmm. While I haven't really experienced a situation where, we can't buy a house because of solar.
Oh, okay, you haven't.
That's good. Yeah, very positive.
You hear that? Could you repeat that and enunciate every word? Because you do get that a lot. Like, they have solar, I can't buy the house.
Yeah.
Like, no.
So a lot of, and I think part of it comes in on the real estate's opinion, because they're kind of recommending things to their clients as well. Mm-hmm. So if they have a negative or positive outlook on solar, that could be a good or bad thing. But at the end of the day, it's very easy to do a transaction when solar is involved. So if you're selling a home, they're going to get, they call it into the solar company, they make a request, fill out some paperwork. It's a couple weeks process. The buyer calls into the solar company, fills out an application sort of situation. And then once they review and approve it, the transfer process gets completed and we get all the paperwork we need to close the loan, it's really not a problem at all. Easy.
I like this guy.
I like that. All right.
It's very easy.
Because you're saying everything we've been saying.
Right,
It's
exactly.
not an issue.
Yeah.
It's not an issue. Just do your due diligence and get it done.
Yeah.
Do you feel solar adds value to a home?
It
Can
does when the system, so I've seen a lot of amazing situations where solar, does benefit the customer where they don't have that electric payment, and they just have their lease or their loan. And that's where I was like, wow, this, I've seen it firsthand with hundreds of customers where they are getting a great benefit. And unfortunately, it didn't work out for me. But
we don't want to keep hitting on that, but yeah.
it's just the only thing I wanted to say to that little piece, and I'll switch back. But when something like that happens to someone, I'm glad that you wanted to address it, because when it happens to the person and they're dealing with that financial situation, there's fights between husband and wives, and lives can be ruined. When
that's a really
like
good point.
That happens.
That's a really good point,
and it's crushing. But at the end of the day, you guys are, I'm glad that you brought me on, because you guys are educating people. You're helping people understand the ins and outs of your industry, where, I just look at the finances and the benefit. So
I get it.
Yeah. So going back to the process, like I said, super easy. A lot of folks, will worry about the solar for other reasons. It really becomes a problem when, say, if the real estate agent doesn't get the seller to call over to the solar company, like after they're under contract. Like in some cases, if they wait like 2 weeks, call the solar company so we can start this transfer process. Now we're closing late.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're out of, then we're falling out of the contract.
That's just the seller
timeline.
not doing the things that they need to do.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
Do you find a lot of uneducated real estate agents or homeowners who are trying to buy or sell a home with solar, and they're like, I just don't know what to do? Or
Well, yeah. I mean, that happens very often, because how many times in your life are you going to buy a home? Some people might buy 6-7 homes in their lifetime, where the average is maybe 2 or 3 homes in a lifetime. And with prices up, obviously that number's way down right now.
Right.
But as things transition over the next few years, we're going to see those numbers kind of change as the economy changes and things like that. So
do you get in a situation where, okay, so someone's financing a system, right? They're paying for it and they're selling the house. Is the solar then rolled into the price of the house? How is that handled? So they still owe, let's say, $15,000 on the system. Mm-hmm. How does that all get handled within the transaction?
on a loan, not a lease?
Yeah. So if they own the solar system with a loan, most of the time the seller will just pay off the loan when they close. So what happens is, let's say you sell your home for $400,000, you owe $300,000 on your first mortgage, but then the solar, let's say you owe $30,000 on the solar loan, that just gets paid off at the sale.
So it's part of the, okay.
Yeah.
And then the seller gets the net proceeds. So
It just becomes part of the whole transaction,
yeah.
right?
Yes.
So in a sense, I would think the seller has to add value and say, okay, my system, I owe $30,000. I'm instead of asking $280, I might ask $300 or $310, so I can then pay it off as part of the transaction.
Yeah, and for a buyer, I mean, they just got a completely free solar system that they never had to pay for. So
Yeah.
How do the appraisers react to that? Are the appraisers putting a value onto the solar system at all, or no?
Not really. I'm not seeing added value for solar systems. Not so much.
Okay.
Can you get us in touch with an appraiser to come on the show?
We need to talk to them.
Yeah, actually, I do have
be
several
great.
contacts
I would love to
that
bring
we
one
could
on.
talk to. But a lot of times when we say, if you're putting money into your home, like remodeling, upgrading, and that sort of thing, in general, we just say you're getting half of the value for what you put into it. So
Sure.
It's a fair assumption, yeah.
if you put in $100K, your value might go up $50K, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
I mean, that makes total sense.
Yeah. I also think there's a marketability to solar, not just the financial aspect, because when you take a look at like, oh, this person has solar, but they got it 10 years ago when, in their grandfathered in on APS's, rate, where it's a higher export rate. So it makes it more like, wow, if I would have got that exact same system today, my savings on my APS bill wouldn't be as great as this home that already has solar. It's grandfathered in on that plan because when a new homeowner takes over, they assume that same grandfather clause with APS. So that's nice too.
That's true. When as a lender, are there things you're looking for? I mean, we kind of talked a little bit, but be specific. As far as you see a home with solar, what are you looking at when instantly you see, okay, this home has solar, I need to check this out. I need to look at this. Do you also, and with that, do you guys ever order inspections on the system to see if it's working?
Great question. Short answer is when we order the appraisal, the appraiser is going to go out to the home and they're going to look at the property in and out, right? So as far as the appraisal, if the appraiser doesn't kind of bring up any issues or if they don't see anything that looks wrong, then we never ask for a solar inspection.
Do you think you should? What I mean by that is how the appraiser's experience and look, maybe the appraiser knows nothing about solar, so he doesn't really know what he's looking at.
Yeah, he's like, there's panels on the roof.
I totally get your concern with it. I think one of the bigger things we would worry about is like if we see like leaks on the inside from the roof, or any kind of that. If they see something like that, then we're definitely getting a roof inspection.
Because I mean, you could have a paperweight just sitting there. If it doesn't work,
yeah,
true.
It could basically. True. So the reason I'm asking that is because, like for instance, Harmon, what we do is we offer that service to realtors, and realtors have been taking advantage of it. Where if they have a home with solar, they have us go out and do an inspection, and we have a full report, just like an appraiser puts a report together. We have the same thing for the solar system, and we'll tell you, yep, this thing's working great, or no, this thing needs this, and this.
Yeah,
to kind of protect a buyer.
We actually just had an inspection yesterday. Went out to the home, realized your system's not even working. It wasn't one of our customers, but we went out there because they asked us, to come out there. We went out there and go, wow, your system's not even working. So we got it up and running. It was a quick, easy, fix. It was inexpensive, so that automatically boosts value in your home. So
yeah, that's actually something I would love to hear more about.
Of course, we're salespeople.
It's
I
just
know a guy.
You think about it, like, if somebody is concerned about, is the solar benefiting me when they buy a home?
I feel like that should be kind of in the disclosures too, though. If the homeowner should know if your system is working or not.
But how many times is that actually getting disclosed? It's probably not.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, the only way we can kind of gauge is, from my experience is, let's look at the APS bill and let's see, what are they paying a month? And if the dollars and cents kind of make sense, then okay, great. But on a deeper level, after reconnecting with Ben several years ago, and kind of seeing his expertise in solar.
Did you hear that, Ralph?
No.
And what he was able to do with just looking at my system and evaluating it, I was pretty impressed with his knowledge and what he could do and see as far as solar systems.
Stop talking.
Did you hear that, Ralph?
And I'm not just trying to build him up too much, but I'm definitely impressed. And what I would say is if everybody, when they buy a home, could have some kind of help just understanding that the solar system is working, it is benefiting their system.
We need to give you more information on
that. Would be really good.
Because honestly, I think it's one of the best products we've ever come up with. We sat around a room one day and we said, every time someone buys a house, they get an inspection report. Why don't they have an inspection report for the solar system? It makes total sense.
Right.
And so we developed that product a few years ago and started putting it in a real estate company's hands, and they started using it. It just makes sense. Mm-hmm. If I'm going to buy a home that has solar on it, I want to know that it's working or if it needs issues. Because if it has issues and needs $1,000 or $2,000 worth of work, I'm going to work that in the price. I'm going to I'm not paying this. You fix this before I buy it, whatever, et cetera, just like anything else.
Especially because I'm sure 99% of homeowner or home buyers are not as educated as you and I are.
Right, exactly.
When I was out home shopping and I come across a home that had solar, I would let me take a look at it. I don't need an inspection because I can do it myself, but homeowners aren't like you and I. They're going to go, it has solar. I assume it's working. I don't know.
Right. Great product. So we'll get you more information on that. But I think that's something that anyone that's buying a house that has solar on it, they need to see that system is working, because otherwise they're just buying a paperweight.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's been many paperweights purchased in this state. Mm-hmm. Just saying. So you made it sound like it's not a problem for somebody that wants to buy a house that has solar on it. If it's a owned system or a finance system, your lease system, I think you said that it's an easy transfer process.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Right. So that's pretty much in line with everything we said.
Just communication. That's all.
Right.
It is.
It's all about communication. I mean, I think the biggest challenge that we have in the industry is real estate agents that aren't educated. So they just don't, if they don't understand it, they're not going to like it. Right. So that's what they do. I think more and more are starting to get educated, but there is still that really big piece that just don't get it and don't want to deal with it.
Sure.
So they're a challenge for us. And so we try to talk to as many of those as we can.
Right. I mean, there's a couple other angles to look at it. If someone's trying to close a transaction in 2 weeks, maybe that's going to push their timeline out a week. It's extra paperwork, extra conversation. So do I even want to deal with this or take the time to go through that? So those are like some of the obstacles, but I mean, it's really a 5-minute conversation and a 15-minute phone call.
So you just don't, I was going to ask you, do you see any challenges with somebody buying a house that has solar on it? It sounds like you're saying not really.
There's not really a true challenge behind it. It's more so just like avoiding the situation. Like if the real estate agent says, oh, you don't want a home with solar.
So the challenge is the real estate agent that's uneducated that doesn't want to sell it. That's the challenge.
Probably the more likely situation.
But for the homeowner themselves, it's not a challenge. If they want to buy a home with solar, it's not a big deal. Goodbye.
Yeah, I don't see why you wouldn't, as long as you're getting a financial benefit. And then if the seller's going to just pay off the system, if it's an owned system and they pay it off, I mean, that's...
Why not? Yeah.
There's literally no loss to the buyer.
No, there's nothing but a gain.
Yeah.
I agree with you 100%.
So,
And just to clarify, you don't see, when you see a house come in or a home come in that's being bought or whatever, if it has a lease system, that's not a negative for you.
no, not at all.
You don't care if it's leased or financed or
Yeah,
owned.
if it's leased or financed, we don't care at all. Yeah, it's just a matter of, well, we need a copy of the lease agreement. How much is it a month? Again,
Right.
That impacts their debt to income ratio.
right.
Yeah.
So yeah, just
That's the only
factoring in
thing.
the payments. Factoring in the payments. So when somebody sells a home that has no solar, we don't factor in the electricity bill into debt to income ratios.
Right.
So, I mean, it's a couple $100 a month, if that, on some of these systems.
Okay.
So
Okay.
That's
Makes sense.
because right now the biggest thing out there, people are saying, oh, if it has a lease, it's just a big negative to sell and to buy. And you're saying that's just not true.
yeah, let's look at the lease agreement again. Yeah, what's those payments? What's the electric payments?
Right.
But yeah, no, I mean, even if it's if we go over to a refinance, right? Somebody's refinancing their loan. Very easy to get the solar company just to fill out you're transferring a lien essentially, right? So very, very easy to do.
See, that was my next question. How does it impact refinancing?
Right.
So
Yeah.
you're going right there, which is beautiful.
yeah,
Okay.
so
He follows
solar
the
lien
outline.
just
He's
transferring
following my
it,
outline.
boom.
He doesn't even, yeah, that's great. So refinancing, not an issue either. It's just,
It's very easy. Like
Yeah.
it's super easy.
wow. All right, I'm done.
This is all good stuff. No, it's good stuff. I actually had an encounter with someone recently. They were looking to buy a house, and they were looking at all these different homes, and they were like, "Oh, this one, the couple of homes I looked at, they had solar, and I just didn't want to deal with that." I'm like, "Well, it's nothing really to deal with. Like, it's a 5-minute phone call. Like, if this is your dream home and it's everything I've ever wanted and everything, oh, but it has solar on the roof, never mind. Like, no, like let's pump the brakes a little bit. Like, we can solve these issues. It's like
Right.
like Ben was just saying, it's easy. We can take care of it. Yeah. People don't want to listen though.
Does
Yeah.
the type of loan impact? So if it's an FHA, for instance, I know FHA has a lot of rules. Or if it's a VA loan, are there any things that impact, like if solar's on there?
So if you go from like conventional, now we're looking at FHA, VA, or even USDA, kind of the 3 guidelines in there is like, is it safe? Is it sanitary? Is it secure? So if everything is working correctly and it meets all the city, county, rules or so to speak, like
It's up to code. Yeah.
it's up to code, then we're good. Like there's zero concern there. So yeah, just a lot of myths, a lot of
a lot of misinformation.
misinformation. Exactly. So
Okay. So there's no special requirement by the government. Just a couple, like you're saying, it's just, again, this is not a big deal, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it's just-
Sounds like an easy transition.
Are there mortgage programs out there that are maybe more green focused, or they look at renewable? I mean, is there any kind of programs that you deal with out there, or is it just the basic stuff?
well, a lot of people don't know about the green programs that are already built into FHA VA. So you can get roughly $6,000 towards energy efficiency improvements when you do a refinance or a purchase.
Okay.
you can get extra loans for those. You have to have a contractor come in and do the bids, and then they can literally build it right into the transaction, put the money in escrow.
So this is kind of touch more on that. So this is, let's say someone does not have solar and they want to refinance, they can use that, what do you say, $6,000 towards like getting solar, or is that how it works? Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
I did not know that.
I didn't know that.
That's
either.
true.
There you go.
So they can refinance through one of these programs and get $6,000
Right.
to put toward
like a
their
cash
actual
out
solar.
refinance.
So you could
And
do
then-
energy efficient windows,
Right.
hot water heaters, solar, other different
All
improvements.
renewable stuff, all green stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you are
Just
looking
learn something.
if you are looking to get solar and you are looking to refinance your home, I'm sure we'll flash his information on the screen or
We
something.
will.
Give him a call. You can get some extra, some cash for that towards that solar purchase.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
I learn something new every day. It's usually not with Ralph, but I learn something new every day.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
really that's
Yeah, there's a lot of crazy stuff out there. I mean, I could give you another one. Like, let's say you want to buy a house. Let's say we're going to do an FHA loan, and you see the home, and it's not quite the dream home that you want it to be. We can do basically a renovation loan, where you can get $30,000-$60,000 towards renovations. We got to look at how much is the loan going to be, and then once we do the renovations, what would be the appraised value after the fact, and then we can build in all of those renovations into a purchase.
But then would you be assigning value to solar in that sense?
Potentially,
Interesting. Because you'd have to, like, if you're assigning value to the renovation.
we got to
right?
talk to an appraiser on that.
We
one.
do need to get an appraiser in here.
Yeah.
Because I know that I talked to appraisers probably maybe 8-10 years ago, and they weren't assigning a whole lot of value to solar, but they were really starting to take a look at it because they were trying to understand. And it was the same scenario where real estate agents were, that they just didn't understand it, right? So they wouldn't touch a value on it.
Right.
But they were trying to educate themselves through the appraisal board and more so they could actually start assigning some value. And I've heard nationally they have started assigning value to solar in some situations. So I would really like to get one in here to just to have that more detailed conversation. So another thing that people could go to you for, we kind of talked about it a little bit, but there are people that get solar that get bad loans.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, solar loans, so just to give you an example, solar loans have really high fees on them. Way more than I'm sure anything you guys even get close to. I'm talking, there's solar loans out there that have up to almost 40% fees on them.
Disclaimer, they could have high fees. They don't, not all of them. You could have some with no.
They're all
no
different
fee,
kinds,
no,
right?
Different kinds,
right.
Yeah.
There's different kinds. So you can go anywhere from 0
Right.
to about 38%,
Yeah.
depending on the solar loan.
38% fee.
So think about that, right? And there are people, and the common thing there is the lower your interest rate, the higher your fees.
Yeah.
Right. Especially in today's world where I don't know, what's the interest rate on a mortgage right now?
Oh, 6.5, 7,
That's horrible.
depending on credit.
That's horrible. But that's what we're in.
Well,
you know.
compared to 5 years ago, that's
Sure.
bad. But I mean, I know that it was higher even than that, and it's actually starting to come down, isn't it?
Yeah, it does look like things are on a downtrend.
Right.
Just a couple of weeks ago, I would say conventional loans were at like a 7.5% rate. And so finally we're starting to see a downtrend.
That's good.
So we're getting really excited about that. And hopefully we see some continuation through the summer.
Where do you think we'll be by the end of the year?
A lot of people ask me that question like every day.
If you knew.
If I
I know you don't know, but just your gut.
If I was a mortgage wizard,
which you are,
which I am,
That's his actual trademark nickname.
right? He's
And I had
you're a
to
mortgage
guess.
wizard,
Yeah.
so you have to tell us.
and I had to guess, I'm going to say by the end of the year, we'll be at
1%.
No,
Oh, no, just kidding.
5.5.
5.5. That's not
Maybe
horrible.
5 if we're lucky.
That's not horrible.
Okay.
And then people start getting excited, and hopefully we see some movement because it's just like we're kind of seeing this holding pattern right now,
Even today, still.
which makes sense. I mean, it's kind of understandable. A lot of first time buyers are priced out of the market completely between the high price homes as well as the higher rates. So when we look at it from a financial perspective, my first question is always, how much are you paying in rent, right? Because if I know you're paying $2,000 a month in rent, a $400,000 purchase price on a home right now is going to be $3,000 a month. Psychologically, are you comfortable to pay an extra $1,000 a month on just your, home payment? So,
not including all the other stuff with owning a home. Yeah,
yeah,
it becomes a big
and
expense.
for a lot of folks out there listening, you might want to be at, when you look at your overall budget, your total take home, you want to be at about 25%, your mortgage and all your utilities and just your home shouldn't be more than 25% of your net take home.
Your home alone, 25%.
Home, electricity.
Oh, all that combined.
Yeah, your utilities.
Should be about 25% of your take home.
Correct. On your budget. That's not like a
Wow.
required number, because when we do a mortgage and we look at your mortgage and all of your debt in general, 50% of your gross can be debt and mortgage.
So your 50% DTI is what you're looking at.
That's kind of the magic number.
Okay.
FHA, VA, we can go a little bit above that in some cases, depending on credit and how much you have saved and things like that. But yeah.
What do you consider when you look at somebody's coming in with their credit score? What's a good credit score for you? What is something you're hoping to see?
If it's above 600, that's like the number where it's like, okay, we got an opportunity to help someone. Yes.
We're good.
But
I was expecting a higher number than that, but okay.
now if you're putting 10% down, I could go down to like 550 on an FHA loan.
Wow.
Most banks cannot do that. As brokers, we shop, over 100 lenders in the country. So we're shopping for rates for you. Our fees are way less as a broker. We don't charge an origination fee. We don't have a lot of the added built-in fees. Retail lenders, the way they operate, they've got margins kind of built into the rates to get, more money for the lender ultimately. But, 3 years ago, I switched to price mortgage for that exact reason, was how can we get the rates as low as possible to where we're more competitive than anyone else. And that's pretty much how I've survived staying in the industry for the last 3 years. If I didn't make that move, I'd probably be out with the other 75% of people that have new jobs now.
Selling solar. Okay.
So
Selling solar, yep.
So this is good. I want to talk more about this to kind of pump what you guys do. So if someone walks in with a 550, it doesn't mean they're done. They're not done. You could actually help them on it.
Right. They're not done. And I still love talking with those folks because, if they are done today, next year we're going to help them get to where they need to be.
Somebody walks in with a 750. That's gold, right?
Yeah. Anything above 700, we can do a lot for. Like there's, all the options are there. So then it's, when we look at those loans, what's the most financially savvy option for you?
Right.
Depending on how much money you're putting down, where's the rate, where's the payment? We got to look at those things. And then, most of the folks that are closing on a transaction this year will, highly likely be refinancing in the next 1, 2, 3 years tops.
Sure. That makes a lot of sense.
So I'll often tell them, we don't want to spend several $1,000s buying down a lower rate right now, because if you refinance 12 months later, you basically lost the benefit of paying extra money at closing to get that lower interest rate.
Yeah, that makes sense, right? I think you're 100% right. I think the people that have been buying homes in the last probably 12 months and the ones that will buy them this year will be financed in the next 2 years.
Sure.
That just makes sense. There's guys like me that I refinanced, I don't know, last time Trump was in office, and I got a 3% rate. Right. So those are the guys like we're not going to refinance.
Right.
We're not going to move at all. We're going to either, unless we sell and move out of state. I think that segment of people are they're stuck. Right. And that kind of hurt you guys a little bit, too, because those people don't want to do anything. Because the minute they touch it, now their rates go higher. Agreed?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So that's kind of hurt the industry a little bit, too, for the last few years. Rates just got too low.
Yeah. People took advantage of it for the right reasons. Sure.
I did.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
How do you not, right?
Right.
But I think what you're saying at 5.5%, if you can get down to 5.5% by the end of this year, I think that's a win. That's a huge win. It opens your market back up.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. No, I'm hoping for it. There's no guarantees. We said that last year. We said that the year before.
But I think we're seeing different things happening this year that are kind of pointing toward the fact that that's probably going to. I see that direction coming.
Yeah, with the way the economy's changing, the change in, government policies and all those things coming through, the stock market is trending down a little bit right now. We look like we're in correction territory where, we're putting everything in a box and shaking it all around, mixing it up, confusing everybody. Investors are freaking out.
Sure.
But it maybe it's a very healthy change that we need.
No, I agree. I think things are, the solar industry took a huge hit in the last 4 years as well. With the economy and the way it went and the interest rate, we were selling 0.49% loans 4 years
That
ago.
was crazy. Yeah.
0.49%.
Yeah, the only thing I'll comment on is like when I did my solar back in 2018, I got 2.99.
Right.
So that was the one
good.
positive
Yeah,
where
that's
like,
good.
oh, okay.
No, that's a good rate. I mean, I guarantee you there's a fee that was built into that
Sure.
probably was 25.
25%.
Yeah, back
Sure.
then. But we were down to 0.49 just 4 years ago, and it was, easy to sell a 0.49 loan.
It's not bad.
Then it went from 0.49 up to 999, 899, and the industry just died.
Yeah.
Like the 10 top installers in solar from 2022 are all out of business in the country. They all went out of business. The top 10.
Wow.
Because the economy and what it did, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, but now we're starting to see the correction, and we're actually starting to see down to 399 again, which is that's where most, I think that's the lowest that's out there right now, right?
Something like that. Yeah.
399. So we anticipate they're going to go even lower. I heard that they corrected a rate yesterday. They dropped the rates.
Yeah.
Is that true?
I'll have to look at it. I know it's this week.
Is it
I
this
can't
week?
remember what it was,
Yeah, just banking and finance in general, all the rates should kind of be coming down across the board. So
What I like about what you guys do is, like you just said, is you go out there and search for the best opportunity for people versus just offering what you have.
Yeah.
yeah, you'd be surprised. So like every week there's a new flavor of the week, I call it, right? Because this lender wants to drop their rate or their margin down to the point where they're number one on the sheet.
Yeah.
But next week there's going to be a completely different 5 companies that are the top 5.
Because they all want to be number one.
If I work directly as a retail lender with one company, I'm subject to whatever their it's the products and pricing management team. They set their rate and their margin any given week, any given day. So I'm having to play with their numbers. But as a broker, I get to play with everybody's numbers and find out what's best for my customer. So
Well, it reminds me of our business.
Yeah.
I mean, you're lined up with us really well because we talk about this all the time. Is that we don't just offer you this.
Right. We don't have just one finance company.
Right.
Or one modules to offer or one inverter. Like we have options.
We have options because those companies that only have this talk about that this is the best thing for you and this is what you need
Right.
versus what you really need, right? Because that's all they sell. So you're kind of in that same boat, which I really think is really important, that people can go to you, the mortgage wizard. That's your name, right?
yeah.
The mortgage wizard. And he will work for you and he will look at all the different options and what makes best sense for you. That's what I want when I have somebody working for me.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that makes a lot of sense. So if somebody wants to get a hold of you, how do they find you?
It's pretty easy. My contact number, most people call me, text me. If you find me on social media, you can message me. But yeah, I mean, I can give you my contact number.
Say it.
Easy.
Say it. Tell everybody.
602-885-3863.
Okay. Is there an email address?
Yeah, it's brubenstein@pricemortgage.com.
Are you on the interwebs? What do you-
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I've got a
interwebs?
website. I've got Facebook, Instagram, and
How
all
can
that
people
fun
find you on
stuff.
the interwebs? Is there any particular link you want them to go? I mean, like for me, they just look at Solar God and they find. No, I'm kidding.
No, I don't.
No, but I mean, how do they find you? Is there a mortgage wizard is on the internet or?
Yeah, I haven't done that.
Haven't done that?
Unfortunately,
Okay.
not yet.
You need to do that. You need to put a little wizard.
If you
suit
search
on
Ben
and-
Rubenstein, my name's coming up for sure.
There's only one of those in the
If you
world.
search me online, there's so many Ben Rubensteins, it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
But I'm surprised.
No, you're not.
Not too
But there's
many.
only one mortgage wizard. So
There's only one
Do you hear that?
mortgage wizard. You need to do the whole wizard outfit.
yeah, I mean, I thought about that for like Halloween, crystal ball and
That'd
all
be.
that.
I'm
But
telling you.
Can we reshoot this podcast with you dressed up as a wizard?
That would be phenomenal.
I mean, I could do that. Yeah,
we could have him come in
That'd
and
be
dress that
fun.
way, and I could just like do camera effects to make it
That-
seem like boom.
Right.
that'd be really fun.
Smoke.
Yeah,
Any other things? You?
No, but thank you for coming. Thanks for
yeah. I'm really glad I
educating
came
us.
in and met both of you.
Yeah,
and
it's cool. We learned a lot.
really cool experience. Thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely, and we need to get a hold of a appraiser next. We weren't thinking about that, but I think after talking
no.
to Ben, that just makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
We're gonna get down dirty on this stuff because
Yep.
he just cleared up a lot of myths that are out there.
Yeah, we talked with a real estate agent. We talked with a mortgage expert. Now we need an appraisal. Probably, I want to talk with homeowners insurance agents.
Yeah,
too,
absolutely.
'cause how that affects everything. So
And Ben needs to get you information on those system reports that we do because I think that's really beneficial to your customers if they're buying solar. You got to protect them.
Yeah,
We're all about
definitely let me
protecting
know.
the consumer, and I think that's why we developed that. And that's
Yeah.
I think it'd be a good product for you.
yeah, could be.
So, all right. So that's our talk about mortgage, and I learned a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Ben learned a lot.
Yeah,
And Ben never says that.
I know.
So see what happens when you get two Bens together.
I'm Mr. Everything plus some mortgage stuff now.
Hey, so thanks for watching. We'll be coming at you real soon here. We got so much cool stuff lined up. We have so many guests lined up.
Yep.
And we're doing something special in April as well. We'll get to that on the next one, but that's going to be really cool.
All right.
But we'll be out here soon again. Thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.